Welcome to the show, everybody. It's the Crypto Lark. Today we're going to be talking about the Remi ICO. They are helping businesses do away with passwords while increasing security. We're going to get into just how they intend to do that after a quick shout out to everyone who has been hitting that like button, and of course everybody who has been subscribing to the channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you hit that button down below to stay up to date with all of the latest in the crypto space. Furthermore, this is of course not professional financial advice. This is just a dude talking about cryptocurrencies on the internet. This is an ICO. Please understand that there is always a certain amount of inherent risk in investing in any token sale. Please do your own due diligence before putting your own money on the line. This sale is unrestricted to all nationalities, so Americans, you are welcome to participate in this one should you so desire. The whitelist has closed for this. However, on day 3 of the token sale, it will be open for everybody. So if you didn't get on that whitelist, after 48 hours, it will be open for everybody. Furthermore, the team at Remi has reached out to me to do a sponsored review of their project, but I have, of course, reserved the right to do an open and honest review. So let's get into it. Of course, in order to understand why Remi is an interesting solution, you have to understand what the problem is in the first place. Now look, the Equifax hack exposed 143 million people's personal data, which is a devastatingly bad situation. Every year, millions of passwords are stolen by simple phishing emails, which is insane. So many people have simple passwords. And of course, so many people use the same password for multiple services. Now look, yeah, you can blame people to an extent, but at the same time, you can't blame people too much because they have 50, 60 different accounts sometimes across different social media and emails and work accounts and wallets and exchanges and all this different stuff. And you have to have a different password for each one, and it's got to be unique and difficult with uppercase and lowercase and all these different things. We got to write that down somewhere. What if you lose that? It's problematic. And I understand why people get a bit lazy, but it's a bad situation and it results in massive data loss, loss of money, all these different things. Now, what Remi is proposing, worth pointing out as well, this is a business-to-business solution. But they are proposing a passwordless, decentralized, and cheap way to protect that whole process. There will be no passwords. Instead, you will have a digital certificate issued, of course, on the blockchain that'll be stored on a device like a phone or a computer, or even in the future, a hardware wallet. It will, of course, be decentralized, which is fantastic. So there will be no singular way to get into an entire company. If one person is silly and exposes their private key, then only that person's digital certificate gets hacked. You don't actually expose the entire network because it is a decentralized network. Of course, you'll have anonymity within this. There will be no need for, governments to sort of hop on board and cooperate like in so many of the current models that we see. This is meant to integrate with existing systems, not to replace or to challenge existing systems. And of course, they want to make it cheap, which is fantastic. It'll be $1 per user per year, paid by the companies. Now, if you think of a big company with 30 or 40,000 employees, well, I think, well, they got to pay $30,000, $40,000. That's a substantial amount of money for a big company like that. But I'm sure that the cost equation for paying for that kind of security versus losing all the data in a potential hack is much cheaper, and probably lowers their insurance rates, I'd only imagine, but that's just speculation. Now, why would they need blockchain at all? Of course, this is about a distributed, immutable ledger of digital certificates. If it's decentralized, there is no single point of failure. This will be used for the generation of certificates, but also the revocation of certificates. There will be nodes running the network. By the way, they will have master nodes set up. They'll be $10,000 a piece. During the sale, you will need 250,000 tokens in order to set up a master node, but those are out there if you want to get involved in that. And 0.1% will be used as a fee, which must be paid in Remy tokens, so that $1 per person per year, all paid out in Remy tokens, starts to add up when you start onboarding lots of different companies on a yearly basis, of course. Now, the interesting thing here too about Remy, they've already run a successful pilot program. So they had 5 companies that signed on with them to run that pilot program across 5 different industries. It was a very successful program. Now they have 30 companies that have already signed up to be part of the blockchain when it debuts. So that's a great market validation for what they're offering too. Let's talk about some use cases. Now look, obviously websites, massive potential for websites. Obviously companies, massive potential here for companies as well. They give some really interesting use cases on their website. Critical infrastructure. So some years ago, Ukraine was actually hacked and their electricity grid was switched off. These things happen. Not to mention, of course, all the other critical infrastructure that could get hacked, theoretically. The Internet of Things. Now, the fascinating thing here, and I had never really thought about it very much, was the potential to hack your car. Now, remember, we are starting to move towards a world of driverless connected cars. Even the ones that aren't fully driverless yet have driverless capabilities on the highway and things like this. The last thing you want is your bloody car getting hacked. Holy cow. That would be a serious problem. Definitely set up the 2-factor authentication for that. Medicare, of course, medical records, obviously, again, a big use case here as far as not wanting to get that information exposed. And of course, a simple example of cryptocurrency exchanges. I know everybody tells you, guys, set up your 2-factor authentication, but it's still amazing how many people don't actually do that, which is crazy. Let's talk about the team. Now, the team at the moment is rather small. It's just 8 people at the moment, but the team is pretty solid. If you actually check out who's behind the project, we have Alex here, for example. He's the founder and CEO. He's had some great experience as far as actually starting his own tech companies, for example, in the cryptocurrency space even, which is of course always an added bonus. We have Roman here as well, Chief Technology Officer over at 482 Solutions, R&D Project Manager. So he again also has a great realm of experience here as far as actually getting projects delivered. And interestingly, the guys over at Remy won the Microsoft Blockchain Hackathon in Ukraine in 2017. So that's pretty impressive as well. It's really some nice high-level validation for them. Let's check out the roadmap. Now, as the Q1 moves forward, they will of course be expanding their team after the ICO funds come in. Q2, we're going to be seeing things like additional 2FA options, like the Trezor, for example, which is of course fantastic. We'll see our first product security audit. They're also going to be doing that again in Q3, opening an office in London in Q3 as well. Q4 office in New York will be opening too, aiming to have 100+ integrations of their product by the end of the year. Ambitious, but I like it. If they can actually get those offices in London and get those offices in New York set up, I could easily see this being integrated at 100+ companies. It's all about getting the message out, of course. Moving forward, Q1 2019, they'll be looking to, of course, expand into Asia, Tokyo and Singapore in particular. Let's take a moment to consider the competition. Now, the first one that probably comes to a lot of people's minds is Civic. However, they're slightly different. Really, at the end of the day, Civic is focused on creating personal ID primarily, although they do have different business applications, of course, and the potential for Civic is quite wide-reaching, their main focus is actually on personal ID, whereas with Remi, it's actually a business-based solution for business cyber security, removing passwords, replacing them with digital certificates. So the idea is a little bit different. Now, we've also had a recent ICO called Selfkey, which is operating in the same space, though not quite the same. And we have an ICO taking place around the same time called VeryMe, which again, operating in the same space, but not really doing the same thing that Remi is doing, or trying to do it in quite the same way. Having a quick look at some of the partners that are involved with Remi, we see a Ukrainian state-owned information security company which has partnered with them. We see Gladius, which is a recent project that's come out. Together they want to compete with Cloudflare, which is of course very ambitious. And we see a few other companies, for example, a photo depository company online. I would like to see some more high-level partnerships with some bigger companies. Obviously, that will be really important for Remi moving forward, actually being able to nail down some of those big partnerships. So it is still early in the game for them. They do have to get those offices in other countries and actually be able to attract some big clients to make this a highly valuable project. Now, a quick word as well about really the setup of their blockchain that they're working on here. So they are going to be anchored to the Bitcoin blockchain, but they're really trying to make something that's highly modular. So this is going to be inspired by Ethereum's consensus model, but also taking some inspiration from Dash's masternodes, for example, too. So you might be thinking, well, why not Qtum? Why not Neo? Why not Icon? Why are they choosing to do such a blockchain model? It's secure, it's proven, and it's not using the Bitcoin chain necessarily. It is a modified version of that. It's simply anchored to the Bitcoin chain, so something to keep in mind. Some other things to think about too, for example, what if you lose your phone? And that's where you had your certificate, right? Well, you can always revoke your certificate. And yeah, there's always gonna be difficulty with security. No matter how good we get at it, there will always be ways for people to get in. But this really eliminates a lot of the problems, and especially for a business, it gives them a unified way to approach this without having thousands of different people with thousands of different passwords. Potentially, they can all have digital certificates run through the nodes, which is a much more secure system, of course. Now, obviously, adoption is something else you have to think about. As mentioned, we do need to see those big partnerships, but really, you know, is this a service that is actually needed? Certainly seems like it's needed, considering the recent data leaks and how many hacks happen, for example. But again, we need people to actually use it. Now, during the pre-ICO, they sold $1.8 million worth of tokens at a 20% discount. If you invest in the first 3 days, there's a 10% discount. And if you invest in the second half of the first week, there is a 5% discount. Now, I mention that because that's not giant by any means. We see some ICOs that have really gigantic discounts. The discounts that were offered here, I don't think are going to create that post-ICO sell pressure that we see with a lot of ICOs that have really big bonuses where people can basically offload and, you know, get a lot of their investment back without actually losing anything. So I don't think we're going to sell it here. The bonuses are not particularly huge. They're nice bonuses if you get involved early, but they're not the kind of bonuses that will flood the market afterwards. Now, day one of the sale is open only for people who are whitelisted from Telegram. Day 2 is the public whitelist, and then day 3 is open for anyone who hasn't had a chance to register yet. The sale starts on the 13th of February. Half of the tokens are going up for sale. There'll be a total of 1 billion tokens. 50% of those are going on sale. 20% will be for the team. 20% are for the partners and advisors, and 10% will be going to a reserve fund for the company. Now, the token price is 4 cents per token, not accounting for any discounts that you might get. They're in total raising around $20 million. So certainly seems like a very interesting project. I like the problem they're trying to solve. I think they're trying to solve it in a unique and interesting way, and it has been validated by the fact that the pilot was successful, that they've won the hackathon, and they have 30 companies already who are interested in using this technology. Certainly seems very interesting. But you guys will let me know what you think about it down below in the comment section. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.